Oh, we're in May. Oh, God. It was May when the Imperial Army began to march towards Ezo. Just as Hijikata-san had predicted, they landed in Ontobe and moved their forces through the Matsumai and Futamata passes. Matsumai Pass, an underpass leading to Hakodate from its bordering coastline. It was fortified It was fortified for use as a choking position in military application. Futamata Pass, a rocky underpass connecting the crucial military fortresses in Hakodate and Otobe. Otori led the men who had been assigned to hold the Matsumai Pass. Hijikata-san, on the other hand, was assigned to the men in Futamata. I accompanied Hijikata-san to the Futamata Pass, where we waited for the enemy to show themselves. Even though the snow had long since melted, the weather was still quite cold, and it grew even worse during the night. It was quite abnormal. Some nights it was enough to make men stationed outside lose sensation in their hands and feet. On one such night, Hijikata-san appeared at the makeshift barracks with a barrel of alcohol. As he entered, the men hushed themselves.
"Koko ga shounen ba da. Kibatte kure yo. Yasumi rashii yasumi mo torene ne ga, sake no ippai gurai wa nomasete yaru kara yo."
ありがとうございます。
Hijikata-san went down the lines, pouring a cup for each soldier. It wasn't every day that an assistant army minister went down among his men to pass out alcohol. Look at Chizuru, she looks so cute! Look at it, with her little bow tie. Oh my god, we very rarely see her in this outfit. We've only seen her in 2 routes with this outfit. This one and Kazuma's. But she looks so adorable. Look at her. It was easy to see that the gesture had moved and inspired them.
もっと飲ませてやりてんだが、いつ戦いが始まるかもわからねえしな。敵が攻め込んできた時に酔っ払っちまってたら笑い話にもならねえ。
Hijikata-san spoke softly as if he was persuading a child. A ripple of laughter moved through the men.
だから今は一杯だけで我慢してくれ。戦いが終われば浴びるほど飲ませてやるからよ。
我慢なんてとんでもないです。また酒にありつくためにも全力を尽くします。
Seeing how much everyone looked up to him, it reminded me of Kondo-san back in the day. Hijikata-san and I walked together back to his tent from the barracks. Hijikata-san, are you alright?
大丈夫って何がだ?
I was at a loss for words. Something had made me nervous, but I couldn't put my finger on what. You're not drunk, are you?
そんなこと心配してたのか? 大丈夫だ。俺も一杯しか飲んでねえよ。
The smile faded from his face and his gaze slipped into the distance.
あいつらは俺の息子みてえなもんだ。俺にできることは残り少ねえ。せめて酒ぐらい振る舞ってやりてえだろ。
All of the men were gathered under the flag of the Shinsengumi, which stood tall in the torchlight. What it stood for was something that all of us, especially Hijikata-san, held close to our hearts. Futamata Pass was the line of defense responsible for holding out against the Imperial Army's advance. If they were to be quickly outnumbered, or if their ammunition became scarce, it would likely spell the end for all of the men here. However, not a single man wavered in the faith of Hijikata-san, and each of them followed his commands. I'm sure they understand how you feel.
ありがとうよ。お前はいつも俺が欲しい言葉をくれるんだな。
I felt my face flush. Well, I thought to myself, I need to tell him how I feel more often. By early June, the weather had begun to warm up. Unfortunately, with the warm weather came the battle at the Matsumai Pass. Otori's men were routed by the Imperial Army. Hijikata-san and his men were ordered to retreat from Futamata and return to Goryo-kaku in Hakodate. This was, as we knew, where the final battle would take place. We're here! Everything had gone just as Hijikata-san had predicted. One particular night, I was with Hijikata-san in his room.
お前いつまで起きてるつもりだ。そろそろ休んだ方がいいんじゃねえか。
I know I should, but days like this with Hijikata-san were becoming more and more of an uncertainty. All I wanted was to cherish every moment with him, while I still could, so I lingered for a moment longer. As I was about to finish my sentence, a visitor arrived.
土方さん、いらっしゃいますか。相馬です。
おう、どうした。
Hijikata-san looked towards the door, beckoning Soma to enter the room.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。ですが、どうしても土方さんにお渡ししたいものがあって。
渡したいものだと。一体なんだ。
これを。
Soma reached into his kimono and pulled from it a woodblock print. When Hijikata-san realized what he was looking at, his eyes grew wide and he stared intently at it.
こいつは伊吹が書いたものか。どうしてこれを俺に。
俺、前に江戸に戻った時、あいつに会って、その時言ったんです。伊吹の思いを、見てきたものを皆に伝えてくれって。そうしたら先日、この絵が送られてきて、見た瞬間、土方さんにお渡しするべきだと、そう思ったんです。
Hijikata-san's gaze was firmly fixed on the woodblock as Soma tenderly reached to give to him. And then,
こいつは受け取っておく。大義だったな、相馬。
Soma nodded calmly, and then he bowed. Without another word, he turned and left the room. Hijikata-san gave a curt smile, exhaling as he plopped back into his chair.
妙な偶然もあるもんだな。
What was that all about? What is that? I tried not to pry into what just happened in front of me, but I couldn't help but wonder what it was that elicited such a reaction from Hijikata-san. The minute I saw it, I gulped. A vivid, intense brushstroke upon the woodblock evoked a feeling of magnificence from me. It was a fury? Painted upon the woodblock was the drawing of a fury, complete with white hair and crimson eyes. Within those eyes, however, was none of the murderous rage I'd come to expect in furies. A peculiar kindness was imbued into them. I found myself strangely captivated by the image, and I motioned to Hijikata-san to convey my wonder. Who is this?
新選組。いや、俺たちがまだ身分老子組って呼ばれてた頃、局長だった人だよ。
Really? The Shinsengumi had another chief besides Kondo-san?
ああ、とんでもねえ人だったぜ。商家を脅して金を巻き上げるわ。酒かっくらって島原で狼藉を働くわ。
Yeah, we don't like him around here.
あの人、芹沢さんが生きてた頃は心が休まる時間なんてただの一時もなかったもんだ。
What Hijikata-san had said confused me. Everything he described to me about Serizawa was incongruent to the kind-looking image of the man etched into the woodblock.
毎日毎日知恵を絞ってどうやって芹沢さんを出し抜くか、それだけを考えてた時、あの人は言ったんだ。本気で近藤さんを押し上げてんなら鬼になれってな。
Oh! This is making much more sense now.
その言葉通り、俺は羅刹になった芹沢さんの命を奪った。
I don't know what they're doing upstairs. Pushing Kondo-san to the top. Before this conversation, I believed myself to have a strong grasp on what made Hijikata-san who he was, but I couldn't even imagine bearing the responsibility of killing the man who was supposed to be your leader. And I realized just how dire those straits must have been.
妙な話なんだが、芹沢さんはあの晩、俺に殺されることを知ってたような気がするんだ。
Hijikata-san's eyes were locked with my own for a minute of dull silence before falling back to gaze upon the woodblock.
俺に殺された瞬間、あの人はこの絵と同じ表情を浮かべてた。
Eh? What? His words baffled me. How could this be the same man? The man I saw on the woodblock looked so warm and gentle, and in no way did I interpret his expression as belonging to someone expecting to meet their demise.
思えば、俺が最初に受け取ったのは、あの人から託された荷物だったのかもしれねえな。新選組を中途半端に終わらせちまったら、あの世で芹沢さんに何を言われるかわからねえ。ずっとそう思って走り続けてきたような気がするぜ。
Hijikata-san. When it comes to men who've left a considerable impression on Hijikata-san, Kondo-san was likely one of the first men on the list to come to mind, but it seemed as though Hijikata-san reserved a special place for Serizawa as well, and I could hear the admiration.
どういう巡り合わせかはわからねえが、ゆうべ芹沢さんの夢を見たんだ。
Huh? What kind of dream was it?
言葉はろくに交わせなかった。だが夢の中のあの人はこの絵みてえな安らいだ顔をしててな。あの人の顔を見た瞬間、こう言われた気がしたんだ。そろそろ背中の荷物を下ろしても構わねえぞって。
Hijikata-san. Between Soma bringing the woodblock to Hijikata-san and this lucid dream of his, could all of it really be a coincidence? Or was it perhaps a foreboding sign of what was to come? We have reached June. After returning to Hakodate, Hijikata-san immediately left for Benten Fortress. Benten had been built on a section of man-made land that extended out into the ocean. It was outfitted with an artillery battery to fend off attacks by hostile navies. Hijikata-san's purpose there was to meet with Otori and other members of the Shinsengumi.
お久しぶりです、土方局長。
よう、調子はどうだ？
変わりありません。いつ新政府軍が来ても返り討ちにしてやりますよ。
I'm glad to see everyone is safe.
何言ってやがるんだ。まだ戦いは始まってねえんだから無事に決まってるだろうが。なあ。
そんな心配してくださってありがたいです。
雪村君も元気そうでほっとしました。どうですか、調子の方は。
Great. It's allowed me to stick around as usual. I don't know if I can live up to the bar you set, but I'm doing my best.
いや、君には誰も叶いませんよ。
確かに土方さんに勝てるのは雪村先輩だけですからね。
え？は？
お前らその辺にしておけよ。こいつがこれ以上調子に乗ったらどうするんだ。
What do you mean by that?
これは申し訳ありません。つい。
After some more laughter was exchanged, Hijikata-san suddenly fixed his gaze upon Soma.
ソマ、
はい、何でしょう。
例の絵、ありがとうよ。
礼には及びません。伊吹もきっと喜んでいると思います。
そろそろ背負った荷物を下ろす頃合いなのかもしれないな。後のことはよろしく頼むぜ。
Soma's expression froze. The words didn't seem to register for Soma at first, and he blinked incredulously with a nervous chuckle.
それは一体どういう。
Hijikata-san smiled kindly, staring back at Soma with eyes that brimmed with warmth. After a second, Soma perked up and his eyes widened, finally realizing what Hijikata-san had said.
わかりました。お任せください。
Hijikata-san nodded curtly, perhaps satisfied with the confidence in Soma's reply.
島田、大鳥さんを呼んできてくれるか。話がある。
わかりました。少々お待ちください。
After only a brief pause, Shimada reappeared with Otori at his side.
すまない土方君。松前口を落とされてしまったのは僕の力が及ばなかったせいだ。
勝敗は陛下の常ってな。過ぎたことを言っても始まらねえよ。あれは兵を分散させたのが悪かった。数に勝る新政府軍を迎え撃つなら台場と五稜郭に戦力を集中させるべきだろう。
弁天台場は我々にお任せください。この命を懸けて守り抜きます。
そうです。誠の旗がある限り俺たちは土方さんと共に戦い続けます。
バカなことを言ってんじゃねえよ。ここの指揮官は大鳥さんだってことを忘れるな。
今回は僕も誠の旗を掲げるよ。それなら何の問題もないだろう。
Ooh, Tori!
この旗が折れてしまわない限り僕らも負けないような気がするんだ。僕は負け続きだけど志は最後まで降りたくないからね。
陸軍奉行が縁起を担ぐのか。しっか かりしてくれよ、大鳥さん。
That was when I realized suddenly that all four of them were smiling. They weren't just fellow soldiers anymore. They were comrades and friends united in purpose.
大鳥さん、島田、そして相馬。弁天ダイバーを頼む。
After acknowledging nods all around, he turned to leave. Good luck. I bowed and turned to follow Hijikata-san. Just then,
雪村君、土方さんを頼みます。
I turned to see Shimada staring back at me, and his eyes had a serious glow to them. Ever since the war had begun, I don't know how many times people said that to me. How should I respond? You can't do that. No, you can't pass that off on me. I understood the unspoken meaning of Shimada's request all too well. He was prepared to die. Words spilled out of me in a torrent. We don't know when this battle is going to end. It might go on for a long time. Even if we drive the Imperial Army back, there'll be another fight eventually.
それは確かにそうかもしれませんが。
雪村先輩、島田さんは。
Soma looked to defend the intent behind Shimada's words, but I can't do everything, you know. I need your guys' help. Both of you guys. Shimada, Soma. Shimada looked at me silently for a moment, then released a great sigh.
参ったな。さすが土方さんがこれと決めた方です。鬼副長が選ぶだけあって心が強い。
I love how they all just know. Come on, don't make fun of me.
俺も無駄死にはしないと約束しましょう。土方さんを支えるため頑張っていけなくては。
雪村先輩、俺絶対生き残りますから。共に土方さんを支えましょう。
はい。Hijikata-san's burden was a heavy one, but the more friends he had to care for him, the lighter it would feel. I couldn't let Shimada die. I couldn't let Soma die. And I couldn't let myself die either.